All right. Welcome to the 2023 Schedule Your Success. I think this may just become an annual thing. It's an annual thing for me. This is the first time I've ever offered this to a group of people, but it's something I do for myself every year. It's something almost every 3 or 4 months, as up here in the northern hemisphere, as the seasons change, as the daylight shifts and we get more hours or less hours in a day, or so it seems. This is something my wife and I will sit down and do. And for the last 18, 19 years of entrepreneurship, my single worded goal has always been freedom. Freedom to create, freedom to do what I want, freedom to live a life that is aligned with my values and what I feel in my heart is a part of my purpose. And so a part of freedom for me comes from discipline. A part of freedom for me comes from rhythms and routines and having a schedule, as many of you know that are probably watching this or that are here today. I mean, I have a lot of things that I juggle between supporting other creators with their businesses, to building Majik Media, plus Majik Kids, plus pursuing professional golf at the age of 38. And so, and I got my kid, I got my wife, I've got my community here on my island. And I know all of you have dreams and aspirations as well. You also all have your own communities, your own families, your own things that are of high importance to you on the day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis. And what I've found in the times where I haven't been as anchored in rhythm or routine, that I've found it to be difficult to be as productive and focused on the things that matter most to me. And the focus thing is really important. As somebody, I play pro golf, and golf is all about focus. And so the only way I can describe my work life these days is that I feel like every day I wake up and I play a golf tournament, with the amount of focus I have on the work that I'm doing throughout the day, so that I can manage to get everything in about a 6.5 hour workday, so that I can go hang with my kid and do other things. So I've learned a lot about scheduling my success over the years. And Schedule Your Success was something I wrote down. It must have been 10 years ago. I've written plenty of articles about it. Those that have been in the Creators Club or been in previous versions of the membership know that this is one of my mantras. It's just how I personally function. Now, for all you flowists out there that aren't as keen on the calendar, my wife is a flowist. She is less about the rhythm and structure of having, things on the calendar. And so I can understand that. And so my hopes today, as we go through this process, is that you're going to find the way that works best for you. And the way that the process will go today is, it's going to be a little bit of me talking, and then a bunch of you actually doing the work to look at your own calendar, whether you've got a notebook or you've got a Google document open or something. You're going to be kind of organizing yourself. If you have a whiteboard, that's great. Make sure you have something to be writing on. I was going to do handouts for this, but then as I started to work on it, I was like, this is pointless. People are going to be doing their thing in their actual calendars, or they're going to be doing it on a piece of paper and then transmitting that over to a calendar. So it just didn't make sense to have handouts. For me, I have my big old whiteboard here, which I left that up for the entire month of January just for this day, because I wanted to look at it every day while I was thinking about this process I wanted to guide, which has kind of been annoying because I've wanted to use my whiteboard, but for some reason I had an attachment to leaving it up. So what I'll say as just like a cautionary tale is we're gonna create the best possible schedule we can. And a big piece of the schedule we're going to be creating is those rhythms and routines. And those rhythms and routines are the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly. We're going to look at all of that. We're going to look at the year ahead. And a part of scheduling our success is to have clear intentions about what it is that you want to do this year with your work, with your business, with your own personal lifestyle, and how do we fit that in? As I said, this is a puzzle, and today we're here to solve the puzzle. We may solve the whole puzzle for you. You may walk away from this and you might be like, I got it. I know my rhythms. I know my routines. For me, after my 3-hour session, like it was pretty clear. And I've been sticking to it for the month of January, and it's been great. And it's helping me to stay sane with all all the things happening. And what I will say is, whatever you come away with today, regardless of how far you get, if you get the whole thing, great. But wherever you come away with at the end of the day is to like try it on for 30 days and see how the new structure you're giving yourself feels. Because if you throw out the new structure before you really give it a chance, you won't get the opportunity to like get into a groove with it. And a part of what I've learned with having structure in my calendar of like, this 2-hour time block is devoted to this hour is devoted to this, is it takes away the guesswork of like, oh man, I got 2 hours right now. What should I be doing? And in that questions of like, what should I be doing? We're weak in our ability to put all of our intention, our focus, and our power into the one thing that we know we need to do in that 1 or 2 hours. So when you structure yourself in such a way that there's no doubt on what you're going to do with that 1 hour or that 2 hours of time, you can be 100% focused and devoted to the thing. And in doing so, you get to be so much more productive. So my hopes are that as you start to implement the changes that you're going to make today, that this just supports you to be a more powerful creator. So that if right now you work 7-hour days, that maybe you could work 5-hour days. For me, when I really started to get serious about my schedule, my work days were anywhere from 9 to 12 hours. That was because I wasted so much time. Anybody guilty of wasting time? I mean, I'm still guilty of wasting time for sure. My brain wants to go squirrely and go down rabbit holes that have nothing to do with my business. I want to go watch golf videos and stuff like that. So that's all right. That's a part of it. I mean, we can also schedule in the go down the rabbit hole time if you want to. So I'm going to start my presentation and we're going to begin this grand adventure. Okay, can you all see that? Good, perfect. Okay, so here we go. Intentions for today are to design your dream lifestyle now. So again, this has to do with freedom. The more you're able to control the things you're able to control, like your schedule, your calendar, when you're coaching, when you're creating, when you're writing, when you're on vacation, when you're taking weekends, the more you can control some of those things, the more you can map out how you want to be in all those spaces. How you do want to show up to those moments? How do you want to live your life? The next is to set your year up for growth and success. So as an entrepreneur, as a creator, as coaches, teachers, if we're literally just living based on the day-to-day inspiration and hoping clients come, we're going to get different results versus if we set ourselves up, like, for example, this year, I'm doing 10 of these 3-hour workshops. There's going to be 10 different workshops that I do. That's scheduled into my calendar now for the last Friday of every month. I have my set rhythms, which I'll share a little bit more about as we get going, for when I'm coaching, when I'm writing. I'm setting myself up for when I'm playing pro golf tournaments, when I'm going on writing retreats to work on my new stories. So these are pieces that I'm setting myself up for. And so if you have those like touchstones, whether it's I'm teaching a workshop every month or I'm doing a retreat every quarter, all of a sudden all of the content you're creating, all of the articles that you're writing, all of the momentum that you're generating and the conversations you're having when you're going to events, when you're when you're speaking on podcasts and all that sort of stuff, it's all funneling in to those things that you're setting up throughout the year. But if you're kind of like, and trust me, like this has definitely been me, is like, if you're just, I don't know what I'm doing in 2 months from now or 3 months from now with my business and with the things I'm going to be launching, it just, time goes so fast that if we don't create those anchor points, it can be really, really hard to give ourselves the momentum we need and to fill up the things. We need to give ourselves enough time to prepare, to plan, to market, to sell. And we need to give people enough time to get used to us selling them the things that we're putting out into the world. The next thing will be to help you improve your time management and expectations. So there's a big difference between somebody that is a full-time entrepreneur and somebody that works 20 hours a week at a part-time job, and then they're doing their side hustle thing. The expectations that you should have on yourself are completely different. And so hopefully, as you look at your actual schedule on the week-to-week basis, if you have, 20, 25 hours of work that you're doing for somebody else, and you're trying to fit your own stuff in, looking at that and seeing it and being honest with yourself about what you're actually able to do in the extra hours you have is going to hopefully bring some peace to your heart that you're doing the best you can. And let's rearrange your expectations if you have to. And then the other, for anybody who's resisted having a schedule and putting things in a calendar, and you just want your flowest lifestyle where you wake up at the crack of noon and you do whatever you want all day long, and you wait for the muse to come tap you on the shoulder and say, now's the time. Hopefully this supports you to heal that relationship with time and schedules so that you can find freedom in these spaces that we're going to be creating. I know for me, it's been very liberating. And who is it? Was it Dan Millman, Stephen King, whoever it was? There's a bunch of writers that talk about this, of like real writers that their whole job is to write. And the hardest thing is just to sit down and start writing. But they block off that time. And it's better if you have that time of, say, 3 hours to work on your writing projects or whatever. It's better just show up at that 9 a.m. to noon or whatever it is and just stare at the blank screen and then start writing. And something will eventually come. It might be 12 pages of garbage, but eventually you'll find that flow state because you've blocked that time off. And if the muse knows that you show up to your day job, which is whatever it is, your creative stuff, the muse will know to show up for you. But sometimes when we're in that flowist state, the muse doesn't know where you are. The muse is waiting at your desk, waiting for you to show up. You're off, doing whatever. So we're finding ways to connect with the muse on a regular basis. And the more you connect with the muse, the more open and available you are. So for all of you, share in the chat, what are your intentions for today? What do you hope to get out of this? And if you prefer not to type, you can also just unmute yourself. We're just going to take a moment for everybody to just share, to anchor in your intentions so that as we're going on this journey, I can keep those intentions in my mind so that I can direct some of the words of wisdom that might come through me towards you and your intentions. And I'm going to unshare my screen for this moment. Okay, so Zoe's find more freedom through structure. Close the door on doubt through structure. Cool. Ability to get into the flow state consistently. I can see that moving from flow to a 6.5 hour day schedule is what I need to get and where I want to go. It's a beautiful thing. To design a new and inspired schedule to flow for a new and inspired year and chapter ahead. My intentions are to rework my brain to understanding that schedules can equal freedom. Beautiful.
I'm just going to say it out loud because
yeah, go for it.
Like typing. I would really like to get grounded in my daily life, because I feel if I'm grounded, then everything that I do and my business is going to be more grounded instead of sort of existing up here in this floaty, not quite actualized state.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I love that you brought up the idea of groundedness. I mean, the we have these two different parts of our brain, and the one is so creatively inspired and the other one is logical and linear. And there's something so grounding about having these anchor points in our day and having these rhythms and routines. And I think a part of the healing uh, for so many of us is that we associate schedule with like jail. Basically, we went to school, we had to be at school from 9 to 3 every day. When we were young, we had jobs, those jobs prevented us from hanging out with our friends. When we like, that is what we associate. That's the healing that we need to take place, is you associate that. Right now we're all here for our dreams. We're here to schedule in our stuff, to make our stuff the top priority in our life, so that we can fit that in all the ways, and so that we can give that thing, the things that we want in our life, the things that we're trying to create, that we can give it power through our attention, our energy, and our focus, and our day-to-day commitment to showing up for it. And this isn't, this is the opposite of trapping yourself in like a job that you don't like. This is you carving out your life exactly how you want it to be. And we're not going to get it right the first time here with these schedules. These schedules are something you're going to finally tweak, probably seasonally. I would recommend seasonally, because life changes, new rhythms, new opportunities show up. But as long as you're continually aware of your schedule, it's going to help. Okay, so 7A says to get clear about what's actually possible with your time, energy, resources, to challenge yourself and also honor your capacities. Create schedule from there. Great. Didn't mean to yell. We didn't take offense. Portia, to create an organized, rigid-ish weekly schedule to include time for all my projects, get them completed this year. And so that, again, that comes up with like the time expectation things of like, are our expectations realistic? Because when our expectations on ourselves are not realistic, we set ourselves up to fail. We set ourselves up to be overwhelmed, to feel anxious because we're always behind the ball. Whereas if we choose, we can do all the things that we want to do in our life, and we don't always get to do all the things in this exact chapter that we're in right now. Sometimes we have to really choose, like, what is the number one thing or the top two things that we know we need to be focusing on, and prioritize those until those become habitual and we don't have to think about how we do them anymore, so that we have more capacity to actually step into other things that we want to be doing. And sometimes building those capacities, it might take us a week, it might take us 3 weeks, it might take us 3 years. Like I gave up golf for 6 years while I was building my first businesses, and it's just the last 10 years that I've been playing every single day again. So we have to have those realistic time expectations on ourselves. Okay, I'm going to go back to our magical slides here. So we have intentions. Welcome, Jeannie. I think it's Jeannie that just showed up. If you want, Jeannie, type into the chat what your intentions are for today's Schedule Your Success adventure. So, designing your dream lifestyle. Let's just imagine you are the master of your universe. What do you love to do? Let's just assume that you're naturally going to get more time for yourself, your family, the things that you're passionate about. What is it that you love to do? Because that's what this is about. That is the big why of why we're scheduling our marketing calendar, our content creation calendar, our teaching schedule. That's why we're building these rhythms and systems into our lives, is so that we can do more of the things that you love to do. So type into the chat, what do you love to do? What's this about for you? What's the big why? Because the big why, that's the top of the mountain we're climbing here. That's what we're trying to get to. That's the promised land. And we can take the gondola all the way to the top, and we can start living parts and pieces of that dream lifestyle now. For example, when I decided I wanted to start playing golf again, I couldn't afford to play golf. And so I did two things. One, I went down to my local park and I put sticks in the ground and I started hitting golf balls to those sticks in the playground. And then I started sneaking onto private clubs and using their putting greens and chipping greens because that was what I could afford at the time. And that got me back into the game. So for all of you, type in the chat, what is it you love to do? What's your big why that's motivating you to get this together for yourself? Claudia says, freedom and purpose, remaining human and creative in a crazy world that tries to make you less of those things at every turn. Beautiful. Zoe, having interesting experiences with loved ones. Silas, dance and building community. Ellie, I want to create art every day and make all the money to do it. Eric, spending unscheduled time with my favorite people, my favorite places. Beautiful. Kira, I love to let the wild come through me and sharing it with others. Wonderful. Portia, I love to educate and teach others. Diane, continue on my journey to work towards the goal of scheduling working in a situation that is not 9 to 5 and outside influences to get you off track. Yeah, that's really great. Oh, and Jeannie, to feel passion and purpose every day and have fun doing it all. So all these things can happen. Claudia, travel, friends, family, adventure, art, nature, dance, yoga to inspire myself and others. And Diane, I love creating, teaching, and sharing my gifts with others. Beautiful. For me, it's I want to be a full-time fiction writer, and I am playing the tour, but I want to play the tour almost full-time as well. So those are my reasons as to why I'm doing what I'm doing in my life and with my businesses. And so all of these things, and the clearer we get. So I'm going to use some golf analogies, and bear with me. It's my domain, but in golf, the clearer you are on your target, the more likely it is that you're going to hit that target. And so even as you're setting these goals of your dream lifestyle, the more specific you can be about the things you want to experience, the lifestyle you want to live, those things, if they're clear, you're way more likely to hit them. That's why I tell people when I coach them, it's like, if you're aiming for something 300 yards away, don't just say, I want to hit the fairway, because the fairway is 40 yards long. That means your margins for missing are 20 to 30 yards right of the fairway and 20 to 30 yards left of the fairway. If you aim for one specific branch on a tree, if you're 20 yards of margin for error on left and right of that, you're still pretty likely to hit a good shot and hit it where you want to go. So the more clear and specific you can be about what it is you're creating for your reality, the more likely it is that you can create that for yourself. And the more likely you are to know when your choices that you're making are in alignment with that life or out of alignment with that life. And it's just about taking aligned action. So here we are, taking aligned action by being here today. So I showed you a moment ago, this is my chaos of what I was doing on, I think it was January 2nd or 3rd that I set this up. This is kind of like what you're going to be doing today, figuring out your day-to-day rhythms and how you fit all the things into your life. And the first thing that we're going to do is about themifying your day. So for me, every single day has a theme. That just helps me to not have to wear too many hats, because we all know how great we are at focusing when we have to wear 5 different types of hats in a day, when we got to show up as the CEO, the coach, and we have to do our creative work. Oh, and we also have to go do groceries and do the laundry and all the things. And it's too many hats. It doesn't set us up to show up in the greatest way we possibly can for those things, because we're flipping back and forth between different personalities. It's like we're wearing 5 different personalities. So by themifying your day, it just helps you to hone in of like, who am I being today? And I'll get into what that looks like for me in a minute. So when you give yourselves rhythms and routines in life and work, life becomes this beautiful skip in this dance. And it doesn't have to be boring. You know, your rhythms and routines, if you're setting them up to do things that you enjoy every day, it doesn't have to be this like monotonous, repetitive thing that you get bored of. And then you give each day and time block a theme as well, which is going to be a part of what we're doing. And then that helps to give each moment and task a purpose. And you can step into that purpose knowing exactly who you are and how you're going to show up and what needs to happen in that space. And that is how you get into the flow state. The flow state comes when you're fully embodied in the present moment of what you're here to do right now. That is the flow state. And we don't get in the flow state when we lose the flow state when we're trying to be too many things at one time, when we're thinking about too many things, when we're not here embodied doing the one thing that matters most in this moment. So that's what this is about. That's what daily themes helps. And you're all going to be creating some themes. So I'm just going to go through mine real quick. I know none of you really care about what my schedule looks like, but this is some of the work that you're going to be doing. And so it helps to see how it could look for you. This is an example. I would say take some notes as things come because you're going to be doing something very similar for yourself. So I'll go through my daily themes. My Mondays, the themes are planning, communicate, and delegate. So on my Mondays, I do my team meetings. You can see my morning routine there, but basically my first couple hours of the day are doing my planning and communication. So catching up on emails, doing my whiteboard session. What are my priorities? What do I need other people to be doing this week? What do I need to be checking in on today? And then I do 5 30-minute team meetings with the different branches of my teams where we figure out what everybody needs to do, what got done last week, and how I need to show up and support people to finish their next steps. So that's my Mondays. Typically, part of my dream lifestyle is I hang with my kid from 3:30 till bedtime pretty much every day, minus Tuesdays. So my Tuesday theme is all about Majik kids. So we have an office party every Tuesday here where the team comes. We work from the office, which is super cool about building a local team. And it's all about basically just anything to do with Majik kids. Marketing is a big piece of our Tuesday sessions, writing, producing new audio stories, producing podcasts for Majik kids, setting up meetings for Majik kids, potential partners. And then Tuesdays are my day after work. So I leave work, I go play golf, I get solo time, and then I go to my men's adventure club in the evening. So that's my evening and afternoon to myself. Wednesdays are my big coaching day. So I'll have oftentimes 6 coaching sessions booked, or this Majik Mind, which is 2 hours on Tuesdays. Sometimes these coaching spots aren't booked up, and so those are available for other meetings, interviews. I also made a rule this year that I don't have meetings longer than an hour, and that's really helpful. Most of my meetings are 30 or 45 minutes. So for yourself, like if you're used to 60-minute meetings, how could you cut your meetings in half? One thing that I've learned is I show up fully prepared. I know exactly what the purpose of the meeting is. That might take me about 15 minutes to organize myself or my thoughts before it. Also, I carry a journal around in the evenings so that I can write down notes of, if I'm thinking about a client project or whatever, I can make those notes and follow up with them or do those tasks or delegate the next day. But a big part of my Wednesdays is just like, this is my meeting day. It's exhausting. I finish, 3:30, sometimes 4 o'clock on my Wednesdays, and I'm super tired, but I get all that done in one day. So I don't have to be, part coach, part creator other days. This is just like, I'm in coach mode, and that's my hat that I'm wearing that day. And it's great. I show up and I give it my all. Thursdays, I have one coaching session sometimes for that first 9:30 spot in the morning. And then it's just my write, work, and record days. So that's days that I'll be doing, like, I wrote this presentation on a Thursday. I'll do creative writing on a Thursday, marketing emails, scheduling my newsletter, All Thursdays, my wife and I record our podcast in the afternoon for the Majik Parents podcast that'll come out soon. Record videos, etc. So Thursdays are like, it's a work day. There's no meetings other than that first one, other than the meeting I might have with my wife when we're getting ready to record our podcast. That's just a day for me to get shit done. And it's great to have those focus spaces. So kind of like Tuesday, Thursdays are my days where it's like I try to get tons of stuff done. And then Fridays we have our it's my get shit done work day. So I do writing. So we do our GSD work parties for the Creators Club first thing. That's an opportunity for me to do work when I'm not doing breakout room coaching stuff. And then from 11 to 1, Soren, my son, he and I do Magic Kids writing. So I do story writing on Fridays. And then I have one spot for a coaching session or a podcast interview. And then I finish up work and I go train. And that's kind of the Friday. And then we have the evenings to go do dinner stuff with friends. Saturdays, I get from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. for myself. So usually I'll go play golf. And then I take my kiddo on adventures all day, basically till bedtime. We just meet up with other dads and other kids and we go hang out. One of the things my wife and I scheduled this year, which is new and very exciting, this is a monthly retreat for each of ourselves. So last week she got her first retreat. I took Soren. We went from Friday afternoon until Sunday night on a big adventure. And this weekend she's taking Soren to a friend's place for the weekend, and I get to be home and sleep and golf and go on hikes and all that sort of stuff and just have some restorative time for myself. So this is a new rhythm for us. We're both super stoked. We're like, why wouldn't we do this? This makes a lot of sense. Like, we all need solo time. So let's just like bake that into our family rhythms. And then that makes the other 2 weekends when we're all together that much better. And we can plan adventures, we can plan to have friends over. And this is also how I'm able to play pro golf, is like in the summertime, I'll be going away Friday, Saturday, Sunday to play tournaments. And that'll be a part of my retreats. So weekends and then Sundays are just like chill with the family. Schedule as little as possible, do garden work, homesteading stuff. And we're starting to do monthly fam jams where we invite friends over to make music together, eat some food, from like kind of like, church replacement to make food, make music, hang out in a village setting. So that's my weekly rhythms and routines. That's how I've themified my days. Every day, as you can see, has a pretty clear focus on what I need to do. And then as I have tasks that have to happen, I schedule those things in. Once in a while, one day a week, I might, after I put Soren to bed, I might do an extra 2 hours of work in the evening. And that's just a part of the reality that I'm in. I might have to do some delegation or some follow-up stuff or reading people's emails or whatever it is. That might happen one time a week where I'm working till 10:30, but that's no big deal. So weekly tasks, there's a lot of hats to wear. You got your self-care. You've got your time to like think about the ideas that you're doing. It can't just all be doing. You've got your family and your friends. You've got your correspondence, your communications with all the people and all the places. You've got your village making wherever you're living. You've got your writing, your audio producing, video producing, your coaching and teaching. And then you've also got your CEO and marketing stuff that you got to do in order to keep all of the systems growing and building. So just looking at that, I mean, it's crazy what we do as entrepreneurs. Like, it really does it takes a crazy kind of person to do what we're doing here. And it also takes discipline. And if you look at all these hats you wear, like, how do we do it without schedules and routines and systems and structure? Like, if you're going to try and be a flowist, there's just so many things that are going to require our attention, unless your business model is incredibly simple. So I'm just going to take a sip of my coffee. And while I do, if you need to stand up and stretch, take a deep breath, maybe take 3 breaths. That is delicious. All right. So how's everybody feeling looking at this? How's it feel to look at an example? Good. All right. Let us carry on then on this magical carpet ride. So our first breakout exercise, you're going to do exactly what I did. You're going to give each day a theme. And as you can see here, I tended to do like 3 words for each day to identify what the theme of those days are. So we're going to take, I'm going to say 12 minutes, and we'll see where you're at in 12 minutes to give each day a theme. If you have a question, just ask it into the chat. And usually I put music on for these, but some people don't like my music. So if you want music for the breakout sessions, then just turn on your own music while you're on mute. As if you want to groove to some tunes. So before you start, does anybody, about themifying your week, just to make sure everybody is crystal clear on your purpose of this step on the journey, does anybody have any questions about what I've shared so far? Specifically about giving each day a theme.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My schedule changes week to week. So I work weekends sometimes, but not always. And sometimes I'll teach like a whole weekend. So then I'll, I basically my days off change.
Yeah. So I mean, if you look at that, you could look at your, like, create a 4-week schedule, like your 4-week rhythm of like, this is what it generally looks like. All we're looking for is like a close idea of what your routine looks like. For somebody that's, let's just say, a nomad traveling without really any home base, their routines might be different than our routines when we're living at home and we've got a pretty steady, consistent, regular life. So you're just trying to find like, what are the consistencies? And do you have the freedom to choose? I'm only working 2 weekends per month versus I'm working every weekend. And if this is like right now, let's just imagine your ideal schedule and let's create from there of like, you're teaching workshops once a month on the weekends. Great. It's similar to like my wife and I have like 1 weekend a month, I get a solo adventure for myself. So what can you, what do you have control over, and how can you schedule that in? So for all of you out there, do your weekly themes for each day of the week. And then, there's 4 weeks in the month. Do the different weeks need a theme as well of different things that might be changing for them? Any other questions? That was great. Thanks for clarifying that.
Can you put the image back up? I really like having that visual.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up. Just make sure. Any more questions before I put that up?
I do have a thing I noticed in why I'm resisting, like a breakthrough, and why I always resist this, which is spontaneity. Like that word, I was like, why do I always feel like so boxed in anytime I attempt to do this? Because I connect with the value of it, but I think it's that piece of spontaneity. Like when I see you every single day, I'm like, like where's the piece for like, if something arises that really interests you that you want to do? You know
what I do? I cancel everything and then I go do the thing I want to do. And usually when you feel that pulse to like, oh, I want to do the thing, but I have these 3 meetings, and you cancel, everybody's always cool. It's like, usually people are like, oh, great, that's 1 less Zoom call today. Cool. So, but the amount of times, like, to not schedule your stuff in because you want the opportunity to be spontaneous means like you're waiting for those opportunities. And in the process, there's so much waiting that happens. There's so much like leaky energy that takes place because you're not creating this like structure. And, there's a difference between masculine and feminine energies, and feminine energies are more flowist and masculine energies are more structured. It's a part of how we're wired. So it is going to be different for, all the more feminine people in the room. It'll be different for you, and you'll find it based on like some of these helpful tips that I'm sharing today. You're going to find your flow with this. But that's yeah, that's great. Good breakthrough. We're only 44 minutes in. All right, here's the themes. So I'll start the timer and away you go. If anybody has any more questions, just feel free to speak up or post in the chat. All right, take a few more minutes, everybody. How's everybody doing? Do you feel like you thumbs up if you're ready to continue on? We got some themes. I want to hear some themes. Unmute yourself. Let's hear what your themes are Monday through Sunday. Yeah, go for it, Carrie. Oh, sorry, I mute. We pressed mute at the same time.
Gotcha. Number one, thank you. This is incredible. I'm realizing that I have some themes, but I kind of want to diversify my themes. I feel like I need to do more different things because my days become like, ooh, same thing from 7 to 9:30, and then same thing from this to this. So having more, I can't believe I'm hearing myself say that, but having more things in themes, I think would be good for me. So that's great.
Cool. Do you care to share any of the themes that you do have?
Yeah. So definitely so planning, communication, and outreach, marketing, writing and creating, and then social media as well.
Yeah.
And then the CEOing.
Yeah.
I've never actually put in a schedule, so that's kind of fun. That's cool. Yeah.
It's nice because I would say the CEOing, at least for me, is the biggest pain in my ass. And so to force myself to show up to like a 2-hour, 3-hour session where I can like get back to my accounting team, do contract stuff with my lawyer. It's like, it's not fun, but it's a part of it. And it's important to schedule it in. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. And I'll say, the only other thing I'll say is what I love about this is it gives me, because my partner is a flowist as well.
Yeah.
So it gives me an opportunity to say, here's my schedule. Like, can we not like one off all the time? So because I have a little schedule, so that'll be helpful too.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Who else wants to share some themes? Just unmute yourself.
I'll just share some insights that came up. I'm getting to themes. I'm realizing how much I have on my plate. And I'm also realizing how many gears I'm trying to shift between on certain, like I thought that, anyway, when I write it all down, I'm like, oh yeah, doing finances after creative, expansive, visionary work, that's super helpful. But so yeah, I'm just really going, oh, this is where the this is where the stuff has not been flowing. So this is very helpful. And I'm trying to like, now it's getting creative about what do I really want to be doing and how on these days. And so anyway, thank you very much. It's been really
amazing.
helpful.
That's
Mhm.
great. Yeah, it's interesting when you kind of see, oh, this was the path I was on. Any wonder it's like bumpy to try and get through a work day, or like my energy dips and rises, and it's like, well, it's because we're flipping through different personalities, and it takes a lot of energy to go from one personality to a next, to like then try and flip back to the other thing, because you're in like a creative workflow, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 coaching clients, and then you've got another block for creative workflow, and it's just like it doesn't really work. The other piece, which we'll get into, is like scheduling in breaks in the workday. I got a driving range net outside. I've got exercise stuff over here, where like even a 10-minute like power workout in the middle of a workday is very effective for getting the energy levels back up. Okay, but who else wants to share? We'll do one more for right now.
I can go.
Yeah, go for it, Diane.
So what I found in mine, and this is why I think I have such a hard time doing this, is because in the creative world, like Monday I've paint.
Yeah.
And so I can paint, but then as it's drying, then I need to do something else. And I also have to have blocked out clients. So if a client calls and says, hey, I can only be in there on Monday. So that's where I kind of struggle with, actually taking time, like blocks of time, and saying, okay, I'm going to do marketing only at this time. And then what if a client can only come during that time? You know what I mean? So that's something that I always struggle with, of being able to say no to one thing in order to just stay on track.
Yeah. That's the tricky thing. What I've learned is when you say, it's kind of like a store, you're a store with seeing clients. When you say, here's my hours of operation, here's a link for you to book your time in, and all they have are the options that are available, then that's all they get. They will rearrange their life to book with you. But if you're always bending yourself to meet other people's needs, you're sacrificing your own flow. And I guarantee if you book in like, here's my hours of clients, this is how many slots I have available, people will book in. They might not book in this week because they're booked, but if they see, okay, next week I could go on the Tuesday at 10 a.m. I can't do it this week. All I have available is Friday this week, but you're like, sorry, that's my time to do marketing stuff. They'll say, okay, well, next Tuesday then. And they'll just book in next week. And then it just might postpone the session by a week, but I guarantee it'll like help you to keep that sovereignty of like creating it the way you want it.
Well, and you bring up an interesting point. So you're going to be my, I'm going to check in with you, because I've always ran from the online scheduling.
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, if they need this day and blah, blah, blah. So,
Yeah.
So my goal, I'm saying it in front of everybody, is I'm going to try the online scheduling, and I'm going to do this.
Oh, it saves so much time. You literally send them a link and it's like, book here. They'll pay, they'll book it. You'll get the money in your account and you have no administration. It's like, it's just, here's the link. Bam, done. It's so nice.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, in some cases, robots are wonderful creatures, they can really help.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Did anybody struggle with that that we need to dive into, or did everybody feel like you had some clarity there? Yeah, Jeannie, go for it.
You know what I love around this, Brad, and I loved your examples, because for me, it's like my week is so filled with everything that has to do with the business and with the staff and managing everybody, and thinking, okay, I'll give myself a little bit of space on Friday. I have a little bit of space in between Wednesdays, but to be able to see what you have on your calendar, to actually take the time out for your dad ventures and your friend ventures. For me, it is just seeing what's possible in, okay, this is my planning connection time. This is the community connection time. This is the marketing time. Oh, this is my hike time. And, you know, realizing, oh, I have to schedule that time, just my time, being a champion of my self-care and my own personal passion, purpose, whatever that is just as important as my time with the company.
Yeah.
Because honoring me honors everybody else. And I realize, and it's funny because that's what, you know, when we take that time, when I take that time, it gives everyone the permission to do the same thing for themselves. And then, but it's easy to get caught up in all the to-dos. So thank you for this. This is perfect.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, it is, it's about, it's like the schedule your success. It really does say it all. And then what we have to do is show up to those things like it's a client appointment. Show up to that hike like it's a client appointment so that you actually do it. And it's not just one of those things of like, well, that would be nice if I got to the hike, but it's like, no, the hike is in the calendar. I'm going to the hike. And if I have to work an extra hour tonight, then I'll do that instead, because the hike's important. The hike's what feeds my soul. And if we don't have a soul that's well fed, we're not going to be as effective in all the other things that we have to do on the day-to-day. Beautiful. I'm sure we could share all day, but we're going to go on to the next wonderful step on this magical journey. Okay, so we've now themified your week, or you've got the beginnings of themes. So next, the next breakout exercise, and then we'll do a quick 5-minute break after this next breakout exercise. So is your hours of operation. You're a business, you're running a company, you have hours of operation. You don't have to respond to emails at 10 p.m. In fact, I encourage you to not respond to client emails at 10 p.m. because then people get used to that and they wonder, I emailed you at 9 p.m. Why didn't you respond? Well, I have hours of operation. So this is a part of it. I block off, you know, I kind of break things down, as you saw my schedule earlier, is like there's like these 4, and this is also a part of Ayurveda as well, like the different Pitta Vata, and oh, it just slipped my head. You all know. What was it? Kapha. There we go. Thank you, Corley. So breaking your day up into like 4-hour chunks, maybe that doesn't work for you. Maybe it's 3-hour chunks, maybe it's 2-hour chunks, maybe it's 6-hour chunks, but just having some structure in this. So when you start to know, like for me, I tend to wake up between 5 and 5:30. This time of year, it's usually about 5:30. Summertime, it's 5. Weekends, I sleep in on Sundays. Sunday is the one day of the week that I don't wake up early and go play golf. I do sleep in Sundays, and I'll sleep in as long as Soren will allow me, which is usually till about 8 o'clock. And that's a beautiful thing to look forward to every Sunday. But this is going to help you. So now that you have your themes for each day, I know you have like what you do. You already have a track of like, I do this, this, and this. And I'm going to just encourage you to give yourself permission to give yourself a new clean slate based on the themes that you're doing. So for example, when I made my January schedule, before Thursday was my coaching day, but I got really clear I wanted to do all my coaching on Wednesday. And so you know what I did? On January 4th, the day after I had my schedule, I reached out to all my clients and I said, I need to move you. I'm doing coaching on Wednesday. Here's the options. You get first dibs. Answer me quickly on which of these works best for you. And it worked out for everybody. So I want you to give you permission to make your dream life here, how you want to do it. And maybe as you're starting to shuffle your schedule around, not 100% of them will work out, but maybe 100% of them will. And just imagine what that reality would be like. If you just called everybody up that you have standing meetings with and be like, hey, can we do this on Tuesdays instead? And can we change our meetings from being an hour long to 30 minutes long? I think we can get more done, and I think we can have less time on Zoom. What do you think about that? So think about, you know, what are your regular rhythms that you're doing right now and how they might or might not be working? How often, how long are your typical meetings, etc. And let's block this off now. So we're going to do 15 minutes on you just roughing in your hours of operation based on your daily themes and how you're choosing to structure your life. Now, remember this. Remember that every day needs to have this in there. You need to have self-care time. You need to structure in the things that you love to do, whether it's that hike or a yoga practice. You need to do this every day. There's not a single day that you shouldn't be taking care of your body and yourself. So make sure, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, if you have to wake up at 6 a.m. instead of 7 a.m. or 5 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. For me, that's why I wake up so damn early, is because I need this. Days that I don't go play golf in the morning, or I'm way less awesome than days that I do go play golf at first light. So make sure that as you're structuring it in, you're structuring in the family time, time with friends, you know, you're structuring in all of these different pieces. And we're going to get really, really specific. So this is just kind of like more of a broad look. You don't have to get deep into the weeds around this is exactly what I do from here. This is more of like, from this time to this time, I do this kind of thing, whether it's writing, producing, meetings, coaching, etc. So we're gonna go broad here. Does anybody have any questions before you dive into this exercise? Anybody? No questions? Sweet. Okay. I'll share my screen. You can look at that wonderful calendar. We're going to take, we'll take 15 minutes to dive into that. And away you go. I'm just looking for that thing here. So there it is. Okay. And if any questions come up as you're going, just unmute yourself. Let me know.
about 7.5 more minutes. Couple more minutes. All right, let's see where we're at. How is that, everybody? How's your hours of operation? Thumbs up if you feel like you're relatively complete with that section. How many of you have a whole bunch more to do on that? Thumbs up. No? Yeah, a little bit. Cool. Let's do a couple minutes of sharing. How's that feel? Did anything change in your reality as you wrote down your hours of operation for all these different things on these themified days? Who wants to share? Unmute yourself. Don't all share at once.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
I guess it's more just of a realization that in theory, I really like the idea of structuring things and like this time to this time is for this. But when it comes to actually doing it for your day and then knowing that you should probably stick to that, I had huge resistance. And I found that I could sort of like do bigger chunks, but then when it comes down to the little things, I don't know, I'm just having like mad resistance knowing that this is the time to do this. But like, what if I don't feel like it? You just still have to do it.
It's a very artist thing to say.
I know.
I don't want to do it.
I don't wanna.
Okay, so my men's crew and I, we did this last week because every Tuesday we do a different thing. And so last Tuesday we did a similar Magic Mind sort of thing where we all got 12 minutes of focused coaching. And one of the common themes that a lot of the guys were experiencing was this this battle between their inner artist and their inner parent, and how the inner artist just wants to make the art and be in the flow and like live this blossoming dream life. And then the inner parent gets really pissed off because that hijacks the inner parent's ability to take care of the inner artist. So it's almost like there's this internal struggle of like your inner kid that just doesn't want to do it or wants it to be like a certain way, or like, I'm just not feeling it right now. And then the inner parent that feels responsibility to take care of the needs, to show up, to be on time, to like do all the things in a responsible way. And the way that the inner artist gets what they want is if the inner parent has the space to do what the inner parent needs to do to take care of the inner artist, so the inner artist can flourish in all those other spots. So to me, like the conversation is between your inner kid and your inner parent, and they might need to negotiate together. You might have to come to an agreement and understanding that, like, you know, I do this every day with Soren, is like, we play hardcore when I get home from golf for an hour. And I'm like, okay, Papa's got to go do the thing. You love our home, right? Yes, I love my home, Papa. You love the food that we feed you. Yes, Papa, I love the food that we feed you. You want to keep living this lifestyle, right? Yes, Papa. It's like, okay, Papa's got to go to work. I know this is hard, but I got to go do this. And so same goes for you. Is like, I know I want to make art, but this is not the moment to do this. If I can go do this work really effectively and efficiently, I might even get off early today. I might be able to go make art sooner. But there's this, you know, there's this inner conflict that happens between the inner artist and the inner parent, and they need to come to a level of understanding where you can do the things that you have to do in order to keep your life growing and evolving.
I like that. Thank you. That's actually really useful to have that sort of like visual of what's going on internally.
Yeah. And Zoe, I see your comment here. The more I schedule things, add structure such that I feel this resistance along the lines of the magic and mystery of life has been replaced by tasks, by the known. And yet I deeply want my inner parent to play a bigger role, the inner tug of war. Yeah, it is. It is. And imagine yourself showing up in your full power to those appointments. Imagine yourself showing up with your full focus to write your marketing copy, to create your videos, to set up your coaching stuff, to do your Instagram live, whatever it is, because you've created that anchor point in a future moment and you show up to it fully and completely and stoked about what you get to do. And yeah, I mean, I said this to a buddy last week, is like, he was talking about starting a business. And I was like, yeah, good luck. It's 20% creative bliss and it's 80% tediousness of like actually just doing the job, actually just seeing through what you said you're going to do. With every idea you have, with every project you're going to create, there's 1,000 steps to get there. Not all those steps are great. Like when you climb a mountain, it's hard. It's hard work. It hurts. This is just like climbing a mountain. There's beautiful views if you remember to stop and enjoy them, but it's hard work to get up the mountain. And you can't get up the mountain if you don't put one foot in front of the other. And each footstep is the actions that we have to take in order to show up and build these businesses. And as we saw at the beginning, there's a lot of hats that we have to wear. So we're just trying to, which might just be a very masculine thing to do, compartmentalize certain aspects of our responsibilities that we have, of our mind, of our weekly schedule, so that we have more space for those inner artists. And I get it. It does take a little bit of the magic of being in the flow and being like, actually, I don't feel like being at my desk today. But we work on laptops. So some things on days that I'm like, God, I don't want to be in my office, I take my laptop, I go to the ocean, I stream my data from my phone to my laptop, and I work at a beach. And that's a beautiful thing. You don't have to always work in your office just because you have this schedule. You can go do coaching calls outside in your garden. You can go, you know, you don't have to just be fixed to the seat. That is an old way of thinking that does not apply to the times that we're living in right now. If you need to add, you know, $50 on your phone plan so that you have more freedom and you can have more data to go stream from your phone to your laptop, then do that. Who else? Anything else that you want to share?
I want to just say I got a lot out of Ellie's share. Thank you for honestly and yeah, I mean, there's a saying, like, you know, there's a difference between being an artist and being a paid artist, actually making money from your creative work and not being a starving artist, you know. So there's lots of ways to do something. And I think what we're trying to do is like be professional creatives and live a life that is, you know, abundant in all ways and creative. And I've been studying that. And the people that I study that do it well have structures in place. You know, they take it just as you know, they build skills and they have systems. And I just know that with any change that you make, the pain has to be great enough. And for me, the pain is like, well, I've tried it the free, you know, the free form way, the like when inspiration strikes way. And I just know that it's a discipline. And I just started reading The Artist's Way again for the 20th time. And, you know, it is a practice. It's like you practice making the space and putting your focus and attention. Because I think that what happens when you don't have it built into the everyday is our world is like so chaotic and pulling your attention and focus on so many other fronts. So it's, for me, I almost feel like it's like, this is the place where I can develop this body of work that's coming. And, you know, the structure allows me to do that, but not saying it's easy, just saying like, this is all. And I think, and, you know, I look at it from like a yogic lens, you know, it's like they say the stability is what allows you to flow, you know, and that groundedness is what allows you to rise and expand. So I think of it the same. It's like, if I don't have a schedule, my life goes crazy. So anyway, yeah, this has been super helpful.
I love that. And it's like anything. Oh, I just made a post. If you feel that resistance, then listen to the audiobook of The War of Art, or read the book The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. It's talking about this resistance. It's like, we have to, as artists, as creators, to break through that resistance, because what's on the other side of it is the results that we're striving for. So, okay, anybody else want to jump in? Yeah, go for it, Eric.
Yeah, I think that when I look at that resistance, I see two things, right? I see that voice of that, you know, judging father figure, whatever you want to call it, that's like, you're, you know, like all the reasons why you couldn't do it anyway. But then the other side of that I've really gotten more in touch with lately is the nobility that we hide in our own shadow. That like the fear of the dream of being as successful or more successful, that can come with its own set of resistance and stuff. That fear of success, which I had never given too much credence to that. But then when I really look at it myself, I go, you know, there's that little kid in me that goes, oh my God, that is going to mean so much work. If you got as successful as you want to do, then what? You know, whoa. And that, you know, that was a really big thing for me that I kind of found last year. And that I see how this, my schedule has unscheduled time in it every single day. And that keeps the kid in me very happy. Mm-hmm. You know, but then, and also knowing that I have the scheduled time, you know, it's going to be 6.5 hours a day of work time, 5 days a week. That gives me the ability to surrender. I go, all right, I don't have to think about it. I'm going to go do my stuff for that time so that I can just surrender into this and leave this resistance behind. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. And a part of it is like, there's days that I don't want to work. I don't want to do the things that I have scheduled. But it's just like, you know, when I go to the gym and I get my ass kicked by my trainer, the first 10 minutes are the hardest. It's like, I don't want to be here. My body is not up for this. I'm tired. I'm groggy. I've just worked a hard week and I'm mentally fatigued. But then you hit this momentum point. Once you start doing the thing, momentum kicks in and it's no longer effortful. It's just like, it starts to take over. And the same thing goes when you have these scheduled blocks of time. It's like, I don't want to go do this task. But then you start and then it just happens and it unfolds and it becomes easier as you get going. Sometimes like the hardest part is just starting, just showing up. It's beautiful. Great shares. One more share. Anybody got anything? Yeah, go for it, Ellie.
I just because that sort of brought something to the surface for me is that because I'm an artist and I have like my artist business and then I have like other things, business things, I always feel really guilty when I'm doing my own art. It's like, well, I should be doing social media posts and like sales and marketing and like all of the other things. And even when I schedule those things and do those things, when I get to my art, there's still like a level of guilt that I should be doing more business type stuff. Right. And I'm wondering if that like just going through the process of scheduling, like I love Eric's idea of scheduling like playtime. And then like actually doing it and fucking loving it, not just like, you know, like you get to really embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wondering if, am I wondering anything? I don't think that was a question. I think I just needed to say that out loud.
So the guilt, fortunately, you have the ability to be aware of that guilt now, and recognize that the guilt's not serving. And as you create these time blocks, have marketing related time, have your art time, give yourself that art time that you need. You know, give yourself the time when you're doing just like the work job stuff that you got to do. And you'll find that balance. Again, like everybody, we're building these schedules. It's a 30-day experiment. Stick to it as best as you can to try it on, to know if it fits. And then at the end of your 30 days, there's going to be an email that goes out 30 days after today. And it's going to be checking in with you on how is it feeling? What pivots, what tweaks do you need? It shouldn't be like a hard, I'm throwing out the schedule. It might just be, there might be minor tweaks that you need to be making as you go. Sweet. Let's carry on. We still got a whole bunch of stuff to do here. Okay, so we did our themes. We've done our hours of operation. So now we're going to start to fill in those themes and hours of operation with like really specific things that we do inside of those spaces. And I'm going to go through all of them right now, so you kind of get an idea of what's coming ahead in the next hour. So the first is we need time for our content creation. That's our article writing, recording videos, recording podcasts, hosting events, social media posts. You know, how much time do you need to do these things? For me, like this part of my job is one of the most important parts of my job, because these are the things that of like me feeding the people, like feeding the audience that is following the stuff that I'm doing. And if I'm not doing this, then I'm not feeding my people. And why would my people give me money if I'm not feeding them? I'm not showing them any love. They're not going to show me love. They're over watching somebody else. So this needs to be in the calendar. Next up, we're going to talk about the publishing calendar. So your member newsletters, your marketing newsletters. If you have a membership, you have member communications, and you have more marketing face, like your newsletter of sending out articles, new YouTube videos, podcast episodes when they launch, etc. Your social media posts, if you're into social media, which as many of you know, I'm not. Launching new videos, launching new podcasts. So when are you publishing the things that you're creating? Do you just do it all on the fly and on a whim and at random, or is there some structure and some repetition and routine? A part of having a publishing calendar, and we talked about this the other day, and our Majik Mind in 7A had the insight of when you have that routine of like every 2 weeks I send my newsletter, every week I send my newsletter, that builds trust. Your audience begins to trust you because they know you to be somebody that's feeding them regularly and that shows up. If you're every 3 months, or you haven't sent a newsletter in 6 months, how are they going to trust you when you start selling a program? They don't know if what your stuff is like these last 6 months because you've been completely out of their consciousness. It's a relationship. So we're going to dive into your publishing calendar, when that fits into your schedule. We're going to look at your teaching and coaching schedule, when you're teaching workshops, doing one-on-one coaching, sessions, webinars, courses, etc. We're going to dive into your community calendar of like what happens if you do have a membership, what happens inside the scope of your community membership. When do you do your posting, your courses, classes, etc. So those things you're going to start to map out as well. And then your lifestyle, what do you do to fill your cup? So these are the things you're now going to be slotting into your hours of operation and your daily themes, but we're only going to take it one at a time. So for the first 12-minute little block here, and if anybody needs to take a pee break, let's do like a 5-minute break, and then we'll dive into this for 12 minutes. So you can get up, stretch, go refresh your water situation or get a drink, and we'll come back in 5 minutes and we'll begin this 12-minute session. But before we do, if anybody has a question, you can let me know. All right, everybody. Hope that was a productive break for you. Let's, before we dive into this, so what the purpose of this next section is inside of your themes and inside of your work hours. When are you scheduling, writing, recording, doing events, and social media writing? Just because you're making social media content doesn't mean you have to be on social media. You can create your social media content ahead of time inside of a document. And then you can, that'll be a part of your scheduling time of like, when do your newsletters go out, etc. So that is going to be the next step here. So before, oh, actually, you know what? There's a bunch of people not here. They waited too long. Does anybody have any questions or shares before we officially dive into this?
Hey Bradley,
Hey, Silas.
I'm just curious, like, should we start, because I'm kind of a visual person.
Yeah.
I'm just having my Google Calendar open as we do this, or are we
Yeah.
gonna do
No, I whatever, do it on paper or do it in your Google Calendar. I mean, I did mine on my whiteboard and then I put it, blocked off all of my Google Calendar, and then I went into my Calendly where I do all my send out links, and I reorganized all my Calendly links after, so that I no longer have 60 or 75 90-minute 3-hour sessions. Is all 60 minutes or 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, etc. So if it works easier for you to block these chunks off in your Google Calendar or whatever you use, then do that. This first little breakout that we're doing here is going to be specifically to your content creation schedule, everybody. So that is, that's what we're working on right now, is just where inside of your daily themes and rhythms do you put these specific activities. And if you don't do social media posts, then that's fine. So we'll take about 12 minutes to dive into that specifically. And if anybody has a question, just let me know. And just remember, for some of you, where you might have a different schedule from one week to the next, you may block off chunks of time that might be, week 1 of your month might be one way, week 2 might be slightly modified. So feel free to adjust it in a way that does work for you. Just another minute or so. All right, let's circle back. Quick shares. Anybody? How'd that go there? Thumbs up. Did you feel like you got some new things slotted in for your content creation schedule? Are you starting to see the body of your life's work and your rhythms take place here? Putting a little bit of meat on the bones. Anybody want to share? How was that? What's happening inside your world right now?
I can share.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to, because I'm like, I created this like calendar thing in a document and I'm filling it in and color coding it. And then I still feel like I'm at a stage of business where I don't quite know exactly, like in my content creation block, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, it's these specific things. So what I did was just underneath the calendar made like content creation with the same color and then listed like all the options. So that way, when I open my calendar, like I'm one step, okay, I know I'm this time I'm going to work on this area, but then like I can refer to the list to figure out like what it is of those pieces. So I feel good about like, I'm no longer expecting that I have it like totally figured out. It's like, this is part of the process. I'm getting closer.
Yes. Well, and what I notice you're giving yourself is a little bit of freedom to flow inside your structure. Beautiful. Let's do one more share. Who else wants to? Yeah, go for it, Kara.
So as we work through all these different layers, like I literally have like paper because that's how I work. It's a mess. Like, so it's fine. Like it will consolidate into something else, but I'm realizing that like there is a point at which using online calendars is cool. Like I tried to use Google Calendar for a while because you could like bring in and out the different layers of what the calendars you were working on. I just don't like looking at screens. Like I try to like, if I can like have like a lot of the rest of my scheduling is still like in a book. And that's worked really well for me as it's been like pretty simple. Like all I had in there was like the writing lesson schedule for the day. And right now I'm like, I'm going to need to upgrade because this just doesn't work. So I'm just curious what other people are using for like online computer calendars, if I can throw that question out there now.
Yeah. Everybody write into the chat what your calendar system is. I use Google Calendars because of the Zoom integrations. Sending invites is super easy. It's on my phone. It's everywhere. It is creepy that Google follows me and they know what I'm up to, but you know, I'm kind of over it. They can spy on us anytime they want. So it's basically you definitely need that. Automation's a beautiful thing. I mean, the less you have to think, the more time you have to think about your creative stuff that you want to be doing or the task that's in front of you. So you know, the automation, the ability to set up a Google Calendar thing and be able to send invites to meetings and all that sort of stuff. And then like I use Calendly for like people to book time slots, and that integrates with Google beautifully and simply. Yeah, it's awesome. So I would suggest whatever you decide to do, whatever tech stack you do, if you haven't used it yet, watch like book in your calendar 30 minutes of study time on YouTube and watch like best Google Calendar hacks for setting up your perfect calendar on Google. Watch some YouTube videos just to like before you start setting it up to learn some tricks that people apply to their calendars. Similar to like this session here, you're getting creatively inspired. Other people will be able to inspire you as well. So let's move on to our next one, unless anybody has like an urgent question that they want to share before we move on.
Just for Kara and anybody else, but I think that the main thing is that there's a difference between planning and executing your calendar. So planning for me starts on paper and then in my like manual physical plan, because like my brain has to process what's happening. And then when it comes to the day-to-day being scheduled and like looking at, you know, getting people scheduled in, et cetera, that is a functional thing and it has to happen on a device that I'm on the go, et cetera. So I would just say like both is good.
Yeah. My initial brainstorming also happens inside of the journal space and then transfer that over to the computer so that I don't have to spend as much time on the computer, but getting the initial brain stuff out so I can be in nature, walking, hiking, sitting up on my bed, whatever. Sweet. Okay, let's carry on. We're going to keep filling in this calendar here. So the next is your publishing calendar. So the first thing you need to decide, how often are you sending your newsletters? For Majik Media, I send a newsletter once or twice a week. This is like a regular communication for me. If I have something important that I feel like I want to share, whether it's a new video, new article, new podcast episode, I share that to my people at Majik Media and that are on that list. And that's just that's the way I go. For like my community, for the Creators Club, it's mostly happening in there. Claudia does a newsletter once a month for our Creators Club, which is like, here's what's coming up this month and here's some featured conversations to check out. But a lot of that conversation just happens inside the community, so there's less need for a regular newsletter. I don't do social media, and launching new videos is typically all with our Magic Minds. I record our coaching calls. This is one of my strategies to leverage what I'm already doing. Is in our coaching calls, I'll usually turn those little nuggets of wisdom that happen when you get into the flow state and you say something awesome. I turn those into individual short YouTube videos and individual short podcast episodes. So that saves me a lot of time when I'm doing coaching sessions to honor people's privacy, but also to grab those little nuggets of gold that could be relevant for all the people following my podcast and YouTube channel. So I'll do usually one or two of those happen a week. And then, you can just see launching, that's supposed to be on the same line. Launching new podcasts is another. So like, if you are starting a podcast, what's your rhythm? Are you doing one a week? Are you doing two a week? So this is your opportunity to schedule in. Now, it's going to take you a little bit of time to set up your newsletter, etc. But this is more your publishing calendar. So if you're working on the internet, which all of you are a media company, you are a publishing company. And so therefore, you need some form of rhythm and structure with how often you're communicating outwardly to your audience in the world so that you can have followers or people finding your content so that you can be discovered, so that your work can be shared, so that you're engaged in an ongoing conversation with your audience. So this is your opportunity to map out how often are you publishing in these categories and any other categories that you've made up for yourself. This will be our next breakout. Does anybody have any questions about your publishing calendar?
I have one actually, Bradley.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of best practices for engagement, people opening your email or listening to your pod, do you have a particular day that you like to publish on?
Tuesdays and Thursdays, statistically, last I checked, are the best days to send newsletters to email lists, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Majik Kids, we send it out on Saturday mornings, but that's a part of our branding. Majik Kids replaces your Saturday morning cartoons for your kids. But for open rates, click-through rates, etc., the Tuesday, Thursdays are statistically the best for online marketing stuff. And I mean, you're building a relationship. The more you publish, the more that relationship you're building with your audience becomes a part of their life. The more you're in their consciousness, the more you're in their consciousness, the more likely it is that they're going to be opening, reading, watching, listening to your stuff. The more you become a part of their life, then that means when you do actually have workshops to sell, coaching services to sell, an online program that you're selling, you're a part of their life. They're going to want to join it. So I've heard so many people over the years like, oh, I just don't want to bug my email list. They subscribe to you. They're following you on a platform. That means they are opting in to hear from you, which means feed them, give them what they're looking for. Be that voice of reason in their life, that love, that light, that person that's showing up for them. If you show up for them, that's going to lead places for you. So make your schedule. This is probably going to be a bigger picture of not just like that weekly kind of structured piece in. Like you're going to need to schedule in, like, when are you doing your newsletter time, or when are you scheduling all of your social media posts, because you can pre-schedule those posts. But also, like, what's your rhythm for publishing content? Are you an everyday social media person? Are you every 3 days? So take 12. Yeah, take about 12 minutes to set up that rough publishing schedule. Your first draft, or possibly your 12th draft if you've been doing this a while. If anybody has a question, feel free to just unmute.
Do you use Hootsuite or anything like that, Bradley, for publishing?
We did use Hootsuite for some work we were doing with the Harmon brothers to pre-schedule a bunch of stuff, but then we stopped using it because it's expensive, and we just didn't. It wasn't worth it for us.
So what do you use now?
Just schedule posts. Just post. Yeah. It's not a huge part of our strategy though for Majik Kids. Like, we'll be doing paid ads as the app comes out later on this spring, but it's not a big part of our strategy. We're relationships based strategy. A few more minutes to work on this part. All right. Does everybody have the beginnings of a publishing schedule? Like a real media empire? Anybody want to share? What is your publishing schedule? When do your newsletters go out and when do you post content? We'll just do a couple quick shares here, as there's more to do. Some of you look like you're still working on it.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I got I actually put social media back into my calendar because I had kind of just gotten over it in December.
That happens.
I was like, I just felt creatively barren for social media. So it felt good to actually realize that, I can use this to my advantage and my audience wants to hear from me. So I used to do twice a week, basically was what I would shoot for. So I'm going back to that, which feels good. So I'm going to put Tuesdays. I'm going to publish on Tuesdays and Fridays and write and record on Mondays and Thursdays.
That sounds solid.
Yeah, psyched about that.
Way to go. That sounds like solid structure there. Rhythms and routines, baby. Nice. One more share. If anybody has a question, those are accepted too.
I think I'm still in the process of deciding what my process needs. Like, I think I need to draft. I wrote draft ideas down as like one day and then actually create on another and then publish and share on another. So I feel like those are my 3 steps.
Sweet.
And I'm doing those on different days because like I have my team on one day and we can bounce ideas back and forth. And, so yeah, I think that helped though to figure that out.
Yeah. And again, this is something like my guess is all of you are going to sit with this stuff for the weekend and probably do more thinking, brainstorming, writing, journaling. And then it might take all of you, it might take a couple weeks to start to like actually live the schedule. So if you don't start living the schedule by Monday, don't be hard on yourself. It might take a couple weeks to make this a habitual way of being of like, okay, now I'm in the new schedule and I'm living it and trying it on and it feels good. Because you all have your routines right now that you're doing. And so it just might take a little bit of rearranging to like rearrange if your client schedule is on Thursdays to make it Wednesdays and that sort of thing. But that's all totally okay. So let's jump into the next part of this. The office is getting busy here. So your coaching and teaching schedule, we all know how much energy it requires us to show up and serve people fully with our presence and our devotion and to drop our wisdom into their lives. And so what is your coaching and teaching schedule? As I shared earlier, I'm doing these workshops the last Friday of every week. I have set times every 2 Wednesdays. I'm doing my Magic Mind for the Creators Club. I do Friday Get Shit Done work parties, which have breakouts, and it's also just a work party space. I have my Wednesdays scheduled as my 6 coaching session marathon. What are your coaching and teaching schedules? When are you doing webinars? When are you producing a 4-week course this year? Look at your entire year and the kind of rhythms you want to create for showing up as a teacher and a coach. If you have an online community, or if you're in the process of building an online community right now, Eric, think about what your rhythms and schedule is going to be inside of your online community space so that you can actually show up for the people that are paying you the big bucks to be who you are. That is what we're going to do in the next 12 minutes here. So 1, 2, 3, action, go. If you have a question, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. few more minutes. All right, we're getting closer and closer. Are you feeling it? Are you seeing blanks filling in as you pull your dream reality closer to the center of your being? Because we have a couple more, we'll just do any quick shares here. What just happened to your reality? Did you figure out a little bit more structure with your teaching, workshops, etc.? How's that feel? What's it like? And by feeling a little bit lighter as you're starting to see a future reality, like imagine you're walking down the path of living and embodying this reality for a year. How many workshops will you have taught? How many podcast episodes will be created? How many videos will be created? How many social media posts? What are the ripples all of those steps send out into the world, and what is the reciprocity that comes back to you? That is the beauty of having these publishing schedules and these rhythms and these routines, is you're setting your future self up for success, because you're going to show up to these meetings and these sessions like they're client appointments. And these things that you're doing are going to lead you to future revenue and future freedom. So that's why we're doing this. Got time for one share? Yeah, go for it, Zoe.
Well, it's not a share. It's similar to a question. I guess I feel like this is redundant, but I keep getting stuck on it. So maybe you'll have some other response, but similar to what I think it was maybe Diane said earlier around scheduling and like clients and working around their schedule. I get really stuck on this because I have this like story, like, oh, I don't have a lot of clients yet or a lot of things happening. So like, if I do have clients, I want to make sure to make it happen. So if they're telling me like, this is when, or this is the best time for a workshop, like I often feel like disempowered on doing it like when it works best for me and when I feel at my best, because that's not the same schedule that like other people have who have kids or really different lifestyles. So
yep.
I don't know.
It's a fine balance. I would say like step one is, instead of saying when do you have time availability, you send them a link and say, check out my available times. If none of these work, get back to me. Because basically they're going to see your next month to 3 months of what's available. And so the ball is in your court of like, this is what I have available. If none of these work, then I might make an exception. But that's a last resort. The exception is the last resort. You can also do, when you're like, say you're booking a workshop, you can send out, there's like the surveys that you can send out to people, like which of these times and days work best for you, and you can get people to vote on them. I can't remember what that is, but there is plenty of different tools that you can do that to see what works. But I would say, like, first resort is schedule what you want, and then as the last resort. Make sense? Yeah. Own that schedule. Be empowered and bold in it. And that's the beauty of like calendar booking links, is like, here's my 10 available coaching spots per week. You put those out and see what fills up. And then when you have those spots where your coaching spots are not full, what should you be doing in those sessions? You should be marketing yourself to fill up those other coaching spots. Those empty coaching slots become marketing time to fill up your coaching spots. Makes sense? Makes sense. Outreach to podcast. I was just telling Coralie behind me here, because we were talking about my podcast outreach schedule. We're booking in 2 hours a week for reaching out for Majik Media and Majik Kids podcast interviews. And I did 2 hours. I led a workshop, I think it was in November, on getting podcast interviews. I sent out 10 interviews in that 90-minute session. And I think there was 6 bookings that happened. The one just happened this week. It gets 250,000 downloads per episode. So we'll see what happens when that's released. But it doesn't take a lot of effort. It just takes time. Not effort, just time. That's it. Okay. Let's jump into the last one. We'll save some questions for the end, because there will be enough time at the end here for a couple questions. Okay, so the next one is for all of you community leaders. You're all community leaders. The community doesn't have to be a mighty network or a membership. It might be events you're doing in your own hometown. It might be something. But basically, let's just plan out, where are you fitting your community stuff? So if you have a mighty network, or you're building a mighty network, Eric, then these are the things you want to be asking. Is like, when are you having your meetings? Is there going to be monthly challenges that happen on the first of the month? When do you release new courses? Have guest teachers? How often do you update, say, your community progress log, which we have inside the Creators Club? I try to do every 1 to 2 Fridays to update my log. When do you do networking, office hours, etc.? So this one's going to be a little bit shorter because it's not as relevant for everybody. But if you don't have an online community or membership, then think about community in the sense of your local space. What community rhythms can you create in your own life of when you're getting together with your people? When are you hosting live events? Silas, when are you hosting your dance parties? When are you hosting your networking events to help people connect and be in relationship? These are the things you want to be doing. This does not have to be on internet community stuff. So we're going to take 8 minutes for this one, and away you go. And if you have questions, ask in the chat or unmute yourself. Take another minute or so. All right. So you've got some community stuff. We're going to save all the questions for the very end here because we've got one more, which, is very kind of important. So we're going to dive into that one. And that is dun, 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 your lifestyle. What do you do to fill up your cup? What long-term dreams are you moving towards, and how can you integrate them into your day-to-day, week-to-week, or month-to-month life? So that example of me playing golf in the park and sneaking onto private courses to practice, when I started getting back into golf and realizing I actually did want to play professional golf in my 40s, that was what I did. So when do you hang with family and friends? What do you do for creativity, and when? So like, when are you, if you're a parent, when are you on parent duty? When are you visiting friends? What do you do for creativity, and when? What do you do for your health? When are you meditating? When do you do yoga? So my practice when I get up is I do about 20, 30 minutes of stretching, and then I go outside and I do about a 15-minute breath practice. And then I go play golf. So if you can schedule these pieces, then you can make sure you're showing up to yourself to fill your cup up as much as possible. So now you're looking at your calendar. Where do you slot these things in? Are you an early morning person? Are you like when the kids go to bed kind of person? Are you break up your day and do your practice or whatever it is that you're doing at the end of your work day? So let's take 5 minutes to just add some of these in, and then we'll have 5 minutes for questions for all of you, so that we can, or questions or shares. And obviously you can keep going because I know you're all in a groove right now. It's happening. Creating your reality. All right, everybody. We did it. We got through 3 hours of scheduling your success. Can you believe how quick 3 hours passed? I wasn't sure how this was going to flow because I've never done a 3-hour planning workshop on Zoom before, but holy cow, that just absolutely zipped by. I would love to just do a round of shares. Anybody that feels inspired. How are you feeling right now? How is your future life looking once you start to integrate these changes and apply them to your life, your calendar, and your rhythms? Feeling it? That's how I felt when as I said earlier, like I skidded into Christmas holidays. I took a 3-week break. I was pretty burnt out. I didn't want to even think about work until probably around the 2nd of January. And then I was like, okay, I need to figure this shit out so that I don't burn out again this year. And it felt so like I went from anxious about having to start work back up on January 9th to being like, okay, I'm ready for this. Like I can do this. This feels great. I know I can step into this and show up now. Who wants to share? Yeah,
This is
Zoe.
like everything. Oh, sorry, Zoe, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. I'm just so happy to be really discovering in my being how most things in life are an iterative process, but my brain will often think like, if it identifies a problem area, it will want a solution right away. And then if I don't feel like I've found the solution or I'm failing, my idea of myself is failing at this solution. So this has been one of those areas where this is maybe coming to this today is probably my 4th or 5th iteration of this journey over the past few years. And like it really clicked today. It's probably also a combination of your particular way of explaining it, plus all the iterations I've had before. And so I'm just feeling very celebratory at collecting evidence of this iterative process being the way and being okay. And maybe that will help me put less pressure on myself in the future if there's an area of challenge in my life.
Beautiful. That's powerful. Big shift. I'm excited. I mean, I would love for those of you in the Creators Club to like post a picture of on the event page for this event, post a picture of your calendar. Yeah, Silas.
Yeah, I just want to say just how helpful that was. And yeah, I put in the post pain-free because this is something I tend to avoid, being a consummate artist mind. And I just say foundational, and like I would really, encourage you for the next induction of Creators Club, just to kind of bake that into the foundation, introduction to the program, because I just feel like it's essential.
Cool. That's good to hear. I'm excited to hear about your future flow states.
I loved this, Bradley. Thank you so much. I agree with Silas and everyone. Can I show you guys? I made a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I can share.
There you go. Now you can.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Hey.
I've dissolved my trust issues.
Because I'm visual. So this is my dream week. So are you guys seeing that?
Yeah.
So I think that what I needed, because what happened last year is I just like started scheduling all the things in, and it just like didn't feel intentional at all. It felt crazy. And so this is the map. And now I implement that into what my Google Calendar looks like, into what my available blocks for people to like schedule meetings looks like. So
wow.
I'm super excited.
That looks delicious.
I know. I just was like, I have to give it color and I have to make it somewhat fun. So anyway, but yeah, and I did one of those back, gosh, my first coach I ever had made me do that. And it was how I structured going back to school, finishing my degree, like starting a business, blah, blah, blah. So it's like going back to basics in a way, but making it fresh for what this next chapter looks like. So thank you so much. This was super helpful.
I'm glad. I think that's going to help you because you're going through so many business growths right now, to be able to like show up and I mean, I know what it's like. You can feel freaking frantic when things are on the rise and it's everything you want, but it's more overwhelming than you realized it would be as it's growing. It's hard.
And I have a huge, I mean, I really have compassion for the rebel in art, all of our little like artists' souls, because like what happens is I don't like structure. I resist it, but then, you know, when I don't have a list of what I want to be doing, it's really easy to just veg out on the couch or just scroll social media or do like a million things that all of a sudden it's 4 hours later. So when I look and go, oh my God, I wanted to grow and learn and reflect and nourish during this time, like that sounds way more exciting and way more nourishing and fun. So I love that I've kind of like created, what does it actually look like, and given myself a map. And, you know, there's days where I'm just going to like not do that. But for the most part, at least, like you said, it's scheduling in what your priorities are. So I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for that share. Beautiful visuals of what you're doing there. Anybody else want to share?
So I think I'm going to buy a whiteboard.
Highly recommend it. This one right here, you got a carpenter in your life. This is just some live edge, a little bit of driftwood here to hold it up and get it in the wall. And this is just a 7-foot by 4-foot piece of glass that's put into the wall. It costs $50. It'll be way less expensive than one of those giant whiteboards, and it's way nicer. And then I just sit at this bar here. It's fantastic.
Yeah. It's aesthetically pleasing because it's always been the interior designer in me is like, oh, that's not going to like look right here, but you know what? That's awesome. So,
and it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's just on one of the walls, and because my studio is not massive, so it's just like a little space in here. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Bradley. This was awesome. Thank you.
You feel more grounded in what you got to do?
Yeah. And, you know, like you said, I'm going to be sitting with this, you know, throughout the weekend, and next week, I actually have a really light week because I don't have any clients. So I'm really going to like hone in. So
cool.
Thank you.
That is so great. Kira, Eric, summaries?
I'll go. I definitely like that gives a lot of context for like the why this will help you do what you actually want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I will be honest, I'm having a little bit of war of resistance about it, but that's okay. That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We'll work it out.
Yeah.
And definitely like I'll go in and watch some Google Calendar stuff and make friends with that because that will help a lot. So
it sure will. And you're also in a unique space of like you're recreating your whole life right now.
Yeah.
So you're in a different chapter of like you're in a discovery process, and so you need to create space for that discovery process. Yeah. And the scheduling your success part of that might look a little bit different than everybody else that are trying to build the rhythms and routines. And maybe you need to schedule in, instead of a 6-hour workday, a 3-hour of getting shit done workday, so that you have space to be the wild woman in this chapter of your life, which won't last forever. So I think it's like, you got to enjoy that space that you do have. And, you know, what is going to keep your ball moving forward every single day?
Yeah. And I think for me, it's going to be like, I won't be scheduling 6 months out. I'll be like, okay, this is what this month needs to be. And then I'll adjust a lot because I don't know enough to go far enough away to even be effective. So
seeing a quarter out is a good thing when you're kind of in the foggy points. Like, can you see 3 months out that you can have some anchor points in 3 months from now that you're trying to fill those things up now with your clients and stuff? Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome. Thanks.
We'll get through this. And Eric?
Yeah, I feel excited. I've got a 35.5 hour a week schedule that, you know, for the amount of work I have to do right now, feels good. My goal is going to be to get that down to 30 by the time, you know, actually get these couple big projects done by the summer. But what I think I like most about this is that it feels like it's full of stuff I get to do and only has like a small, maybe 20% of it is stuff I feel like I have to do. That's when I actually like put the admin stuff and all that I need to do into its own little bucket, I realized, oh, most of this is creative stuff I really want to be doing. And I don't have to worry about that I'm not writing today, because I know I've got 4 hours scheduled to write on 2 other days of the week. And that was something that I was really trying to balance. And so it's exciting to see it all mapped out. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Now I can just relax and do it.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's great. I'm delighted that this worked out for you all, because I really didn't know how it was going to work, you know? You show up to these things like, all right, this is where we're going. We'll see how it goes.
It was a massive success. Thanks, Bradley.
No, I think all of you here, congratulations. I look forward to hearing in 30 days from now, as you've settled into this and you've made some adjustments and you've moved appointments around and whatever else you've got to do to make this your reality. I would say if you've got time right now, while you're in this bubble, to start making some of those adjustments, to start plugging in these time slots in your Google Calendar, whatever scheduling system you use, so that those times don't get booked up. The first thing that I did when I went through my own process was I went into my Calendly, so no longer could people book myself at the old time slots that I had, and only my new time slots were available. So if you have a calendar booker thing, that would be a good place to start as you arrange all this and set it up. And the other piece is, like, in your counting system, if you have 3 hours of writing time or whatever it is, go schedule those blocks in now, so that next week when we start the new week, it's like, oh shit, there's my first writing day. Yeah, I get to do that. And it'll feel really good. I'm guessing, the night before, for me, on days that I know I'm writing, it's like the night before I get excited that, like, yeah, tomorrow I got 3 hours to work on a story. So I'm excited for you all. Happy new reality. I look forward to seeing how this supports you to step into the next chapter of your life's work and what you're here to do, and to celebrate many future flow states that you're going to be able to get into, because you'll be showing up to each of these sessions fully in the purpose of what that block of time is for. Thanks for showing up and enduring 3 hours of calendar time, everybody. I appreciate it. And if this was helpful, if you could shoot me an email with like a little testimonial. I think for 1 week, I'm going to give this class away for free, because it's my first 3-hour workshop of the year, and just to give people a taste. And then I'll be selling it as an evergreen thing in my shop. So if anybody wants to send a thing of, like, it'll go in a newsletter next week saying, I'm giving this away, here's what some people were saying. And then I'll take it down after a week. No pressure, but y'all rock. I hope your weekend's awesome, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Bradley. Bye.
See y'all later.